You're watching Oilers Nation Everyday with Tyler Yaremchuk. Your one-stop shop for all things Oilers.
Liam, why did you take Oilers Nation out of your Instagram bio? Let's get into it with the lead. You have to be chronically online to understand that joke. Luckily, I think most of our viewers are chronically online.
Yeah, that one grew some legs last night, I think is a good way to put it.
I love those random accounts that'll just they have 200 followers and they start tweeting about a trade. And if they're wrong, they just delete everything the next day. Yeah. And then there's a new rumor and and if they're right, they keep it. So then you look at their profile and you're like, holy shit, this guy gets everything right. No, they don't. By the way, Darnell Nurse not getting traded, did not take Oilers out of his Instagram bio. Prime case of don't believe everything you read on the internet. And that is today's lead. We are live to you from the Sports Closet studio. Check them out online. Sportscloset.ca. From jerseys to hats to the legendary foam finger. You'll find it all and more at the Sports Closet. Show's also a presentation of Bet365. Download the app today. Use the promo code NATION. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Giddy up. It's draft day in the NHL. Remember when this used to mean something to us?
Yes. Those were the days.
Yeah.
It was. It was fun, the anticipation of it, wasn't it? And then you get the point and you're like, ooh, who's this guy?
Yeah, ooh, why?
I remember where
I like him.
I was in Fort St. John for the Philip Broberg pick, and I remember thinking, God damn it, Cole Caulfield scored 70 goals last season. Why did we get that guy?
Why aren't we taking him? We have Connor McDavid.
Yeah, Broberg, good player. Caulfield, better player.
Yes, that is correct.
I love the draft. I'll be watching. Stephen Ellis, great stuff over our Daily Faceoff if you want some draft takes. I have zero fear. I know that I put a bet on Frundell to go second overall, hoping that one pans out.
Should we kick off the show with our bets for Bet365? Download the app, use the promo code NATION, whatever the moment. It's never ordinary, Bet365. We're allowed to bet on the draft.
Oh, yeah.
I just basically look at Stephen Ellis's mock draft.
I was thinking it just caught, because last year got it all right.
He was bang on.
5 picks, I think.
So I have Frundell going 2. I have Misa going 3. I have Jake O'Brien going 5.
Oh, that's the value.
Plus 1,200.
Yeah.
I have James Hagens going over 6.5 overall.
Oh, so does that mean he goes? I always get
he goes 7th, 8th, 9th, or 10th overall.
I couldn't find that one.
There's a bunch of them. And then my heavy one, heavy, over 1.5 goalies in the first round, plus 425. Unloaded the clip on it. Bah! Bang, bang.
So last year,
always bet responsibly.
And this is why
I wagered responsibly, but I unloaded the clip.
This is why you should trust Steven. These are his top 5 mock drafts picks last year. This was posted June 28th, 7:30 Pacific. 8 a.m. Pacific.
9 a.m. Mountain, 11 a.m.
First
Eastern.
overall pick, Macklin Celebrini.
Nailed it.
Second overall pick, Artem Leshunov.
Nailed it.
Third overall pick, Beckett Seneca.
Bennett Seneca, who cares? He went 3rd.
Fourth overall, Caden Lindstrom.
Caden Lindstrom did go 4th.
Fifth, Ivan Demidov.
Ivan Demidov did go 5th.
6th, don't matter. We already got the top 5. We banked, baby. We rolling. Yeah, draft sentence of 5.
Jason Gregor dropping out a spicy rumor. We'll talk about that in a second.
Really?
Okay, Liam, you got a haircut.
I got a haircut, everyone.
And what did the haircut lady or man say to you?
The lady didn't say a word. It was awesome. She actually did say yes.
This was funny.
She said, and she did a great job. She was very nice lady.
Job. You look very handsome.
This part threw me off. She said, the back's a little uneven. What do you want me to do? Just level it.
Yeah. Cut it.
Yeah, even it out a little bit. Use your own judgment.
Yeah. Should we get to the news for Charm Diamond Centers?
Is that what we're doing it with?
Yeah, I guess.
All right, let's go.
You can get a custom ring built and delivered in less than 4 weeks with the Charm Masterpiece program. I used Charm Diamond Centers to get my engagement ring. She said yes. Liam used Charm Diamond Centers to get his engagement ring. She said yes. Listener Brad Bay used Charm Diamond Centers.
Bay?
And guess what? She said yes. 3 for 3 if you have a connection to this show and you shop at Charm Diamond Centers, charmdiamondcenters.com. Okay, hand up, everybody. We're just going to get this out of the way now, and none of you are going to bitch about it. We pre-taped with Jason Demers.
You shouldn't have told them. You should have let them find out organically.
That would have been very funny, actually. I regret saying it. Cut that out. We did it, and the Noah Dobson deal happened while we were recording with Jason Demers, which I thought was cool.
Yeah.
But we now know the full package. Noah Dobson is going to the Montreal Canadiens in exchange for 2 draft picks, 16th and 17th overall tonight,
Okay.
and Emil Heineman.
You would have to imagine, obviously, the speculation is they want to get James Higgins, who is not fallen to 16th overall.
But as Frank Saravalli just posted, NHL team draft chart values indicate the Islanders packaging numbers 16 and 17 overall are roughly worth the equivalent of 1 pick between 4th and 6th overall, which I don't know if I really believe that.
4 and 6.
However, since everyone knows the target, there is an emotional and leverage premium that won't make it easy for the New York Islanders. Do we have the board with the draft order for tonight? Did we get that from Pat?
James Higgins, very interesting player. You know who he reminds me a lot of? Not based off his style, but just the conversation. Ironically went to the Islanders. Cole Eiserman.
Yeah.
Remember a whole season, at the start of the season, he was like, this guy is top 2 picks, all this stuff. Just gradually fell down the board. People found flaws in his game. And now all of a sudden, this is similar to James Higgins. This was the James Higgins draft.
It was.
And now it's not.
It's not.
It's the Islanders
But he's
draft.
still a focal point of it.
Yeah, totally. He's a good player.
And I love the approach from the Islanders and Matthew Darsh. Like, if you're Matthew Darsh, you're a new GM, you came in and got a contract with term, you have the opportunity to build this thing from the ground up.
Yeah.
If you suck for 2 years, no one is going, you're a bad GM. They're all going, boy, what a mess Lou Lamoriello left you. It's part of the reason I think he kept Patrick Waugh as his head coach as well, is because that's a free bullet for him. If 2 years in, he recognizes he needs a spark, he just goes, ping, you're gone, Patrick Waugh.
I also think, too, like, the Islanders organization, I'm sure we can all agree, as the kids say, the most mid organization in the league throughout the majority of the Lamoriello era.
Yeah.
Obviously, 2 Eastern Conference Finals appearances, it's not nothing. But after that, just like the idea of like, we're keeping every player that got us there, and they've just drove themselves into nowhere. And I think it's exciting, and if I was the owner of the Islanders, I'd be happy with the moves. Like, you never want to lose a player of Dobson's caliber, but it's about getting this new generation in for the Islanders and moving on. And I think he's done a good job with this trade. Like I said, it's always bold to trade your 25-year-old defenseman for 2 picks. You don't know what it's going to be. I know Higgins is obviously the guy they want, but still, it's a risky move, but worth the risk.
Here's the deal, 16th, 17th overall. Aaron, what's the draft order again?
Okay, so this was what it was
Before.
I'm getting a new one.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
So
okay.
Montreal at 16 and 17. Frank says the value would go 4th or 6th. I see a world where it's Seattle who trades down. And the Islanders trade those 2 picks to get up to 8, and maybe Seattle gives them something later in the draft. And Higgins could very, very easily fall to 8.
Do you think they have to move a player in the trade as well, or do you think the 2 picks are enough?
I think 2 picks for 8th overall is actually a bit of an overpay for the Islanders.
I would agree.
So I think there is maybe a world where Seattle is sending them something else.
I just wonder if, like you said, it's obvious what the Islanders want to do.
Yeah.
If they're just going to have to, why would Seattle not want to play? You know what I mean? I feel like they're a team that's trying to take another step here. And I know it's just your example, but I wonder if other teams are like that.
Here's the new one. Islanders now at 16 and 17th overall. They're going to be itching to move up, and like Frank says, everyone knows they're itching to move up. So we got some draft day action. Noah Dobson goes to the Montreal Canadiens, and a big part of this is that he signs an 8 by $9.5 million extension, which brings us to some Oilers talk, and a bunch of you were saying it in the chat. Oh, baby, if Noah Dobson's getting 9.5, get ready for that Evan Bouchard deal, because it's going to be 10.5.
Yeah, he's getting more than Dobson because he's been more productive, and he's probably a better player.
He is absolutely a better player.
Has been in his career so far. So, yeah, it's hard to imagine Bouchard not getting more, unfortunately, for all you fans that don't want him signed. It's going to happen. I really think it's 4 years. I really do. There's too much smoke around it, and I think that's the way it's going to go. Would love it to be 8, but I think if it's 8, you're probably reaching 11. It's going to be interesting, but talking about smoke, there's way too much conversation about an offer sheet, and I think the others are so desperate to get this done before July 1st.
I don't think there is that much threat of an offer sheet because the second he files for arbitration, he's ineligible to sign an offer sheet.
But he can't do that until the 5th.
I think a team finding the money and stuff that early in the summer for Bouch would be, I think it's a stretch.
The Carolina Hurricanes are lurking.
You think so?
100%. $26 million in cap space. They already have 13 forwards signed, and they have 6 defensemen signed. They are just sat there waiting. What? Yeah, they are there. It's the Carolina Hurricanes are the team you have to worry about.
So they have all their
pick.
They do have all the picks. Yes, they have all their picks, so they could do it.
So and they wanted him at the deadline for Rantanen.
Yeah.
If I was the Oilers, I'm sure they already are well aware, but they got to be aware of that. Carolina, what an interesting team. I can't believe they have all these players done already. Like they're free agents, so people are aware. Olaf, Burns, Rodslovic, and Tyson Yost.
Isn't it? Yeah.
That's it.
And Burns would be $1 million.
If they even want him.
If they even want to bring him back, yeah. San Jose could offer sheet Bouch. If San Jose wants to do an $11 million offer sheet on Evan Bouchard, I say give me your first-round pick next year because it gives me a shot at Gavin McKenna.
And that's the reason why they wouldn't.
Exactly. It needs to be a team who's good.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just risking the first overall pick next year and probably the year after that.
Yeah, it's true. That's why Carolina makes sense because even if they're Bouchard or not, they're not lurking around the first first overall pick.
Breaking news, JAH in the chat. Trade alert, Dobson to Montreal for Heineman in both their first.
Heineman.
Oh.
He was actually former Calgary Flames prospect. He was in the Tyler Toffoli trade.
And he was he also not at one point in the Sam Bennett trade?
Was he really? He actually might have been. Let me have
I have his hockey DB up because I was checking that earlier.
23
Yeah,
years
he's been
old.
traded for Sam Bennett. He's been traded for Tyler Toffoli.
Wow.
And he's only 23 years old now. He's been traded for Noah Dobson.
Holy moly.
Hey, those are 3 good players.
Yeah, 3 great players.
It's either everybody wants you or nobody wants you. It's a glass half full, glass half empty thing.
43rd overall pick in 2020. 2 picks later, Brock Faber.
Rats.
Someone put in the chat before, and I just wanted to bring this up quickly. Sources say, so the Oilers obviously spoke to that Radim Mirka, whatever his name was.
Mirchka.
Mirchka, is that how you say it? So, just to clarify on things, the Oilers, by the people I know, spoke to a lot of players, especially players who could be picked in the top 20 or whatever you want to call them. Every team does this, and it's not for the purpose of drafting, it's for the purpose of understanding who that player is. Because down the road, what if it comes up? Being like, hey, do you want whoever player B is? Jack O'Brien, for example.
Yeah.
And you have no information on this guy, then you're kind of searching for it right then and
You're building a database.
Yeah, but if you do it then you already have a little bit you know a little bit about the kid. And I think that's what the Oilers were doing. I really don't think they have any intention or the assets to move into the top 16, for example. The lottery, we'll call it.
Yeah.
So there you go. Good player, though, that kid. Seattle Thunderbird, if anyone's interested in watching some Western League hockey next season.
Someone says, don't we have the right to match any offer sheet that would come down? Absolutely. You totally do.
And Bouch doesn't have to accept it.
And Bouch, it's not like a team just goes, we're going to give you 10 mil, and Bouch has to say yes. There's a negotiation, all of that. I see it as very low, but I also think I'm with you in the sense I think this gets done by the weekend.
Yeah. I do think Carolina is the only team, if I'm not mistaken, that legit makes sense. With the picks they have and where they are.
Because you have to have all of your own draft picks.
Yes, it can't be random shit. And that's why the Oilers will not be offer shooting anyone this offseason.
Yeah.
They have no picks.
Other news. John Tavares has extended with the Toronto Maple Leafs a 4-year extension with $4.3 million of AAV attached to it. There's also some deferred money in here that brings the cost down. This is the last summer for teams to sign players to 8 years or for teams to use deferred money as a tactic to lower the cap hit. Connor McDavid, 8-year extension with a bunch of deferred money. Anybody? Shove it to the league a little bit. If the Oilers did that, if they got McDavid at a crazy low cap hit because he took on deferred money in the last summer you could do it, the Oilers are getting stripped of a pick for the Evander Kane thing. Without a fucking doubt. The league would be like, oh yeah?
I wanted to let you finish that thought. but just in case, I was ready to get that one in
Yep.
there for you as well. It's 100% what would happen. Great deal for Toronto.
Tremendous.
Great deal. If they can get anywhere close to the production they got from Tavares this season,
Yeah.
then that is an absolute banger. And also, too, like, he's just not the kind of guy that, like,
They got this guy for $4.3 million.
how far is he even going to fall off? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, this is a guy that was in the conversation for Four Nations. We spoke about him the other day. It's like, be nice if the Oilers could find a deal for that guy, but obviously not. It's not that surprising. It makes a lot of sense that the Toronto Maple Leafs are able to lock this guy up, and good for them. Good for them. Did you hear the quote from Don Waddell the other day, actually?
No.
You didn't see it?
No.
He's like, I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but he basically was like, every agent in the league has told me that $3 million players are now $4 million players, if you guys weren't aware. He's like, oh, here we go. I've been educated by every agent I talked to. Just because the player was worth $3 million last year doesn't mean he's worth $4 million this year because the cap went up. He's a very interesting man, Don Waddell.
We maybe even buried the lead. Trent Frederic's 8-year extension is official. I mean, if you've been watching this show, we've talked about it 100 times. We're going to get into it more with JD. The fact the Oilers gave this guy a no movement clause is hilarious.
It's a bit of both, isn't it? Because like it's funny, it's like okay, yeah, like not surprising with like the history of like the Oilers just give him out like candy on Halloween.
Yep.
But like, it also makes sense in the first 4 years because for two reasons. One, who would want him?
If he's playing so bad in the first 4 years of the deal,
it doesn't matter.
The no movement clause is pretty much there anyways. Two,
if you're signing a guy to an 8-year deal, you obviously want him here for 8 years.
Yep.
So it makes sense to do it for their first 4. Whatever. It's just the funniest part for me was year 5 and 6 were 10-team no trade list, but 7 and 8 are 20-team no trade list. You'd think it would be the other way, but I guess maybe that's why the Oilers kind of got the good side of it, of like, well, that should be when you're kind of peaking a little bit. If it's bad, like that's when we can move you and make sense. But also too, like, you can always figure it out if you really want to. The contract isn't agreed,
like they're doing with Arvidsson.
I know there's only 1 year left on that, but like, man, if Frederic was, say year 3, it's like, hey, this hasn't worked, and I want to be here. You don't want me to be here. It's not a cap that's like outrageous. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it's fine. Whatever.
We've already broken it down so many ways.
Yes.
Also, we had someone in the chat here, and I really want to clear this up for them. They were like, hey, Tyler, watch the segment where you put together the mock roster. And they said, notice you still had Connor McDavid at $12.5 million. Doesn't he need a new deal? Connor McDavid is extension eligible this summer.
Yes.
Next season, he's still at $12.5 million. Good?
Yeah.
So again, next year Draisaitl goes up. Next year Bouchard will go up. It's not till the year after that you would feel the McDavid money kick in. So they are going to sign a contract this year, much like Draisaitl, right? Draisaitl last year was still making $8.5 million, which is just criminal. I mean, the guy almost won the MVP. But yeah. Daryl, so can you flash up the Pagnota tweet? So does Frederic's AAV only 2.55 per? No. AAV is total amount of money, so $30.8 million over the whole deal, divided equally by 8 years. Signing bonuses are given to him on July 1 every year. It's a lump sum payment. 2.55 will be a salary throughout the year. The only thing that this really does cap-wise is it changes the buyout calculation for the player.
Yes. Jay Fresh has been pointing out those graphs of how the cap looks with it going up and like the percentage of everything.
Okay.
I'm trying to. He put one out about Frederic, but it was when it was first reported that it would be $4 million. So it's obviously a little bit different now. I'm just trying to go through and find it. But
I just tweeted J Fresh Frederic.
Well, actually, he gave the Bouchard one. That's it. Yeah, but is that the right one? That was Dobson. I'll find him.
He actually has like. He has Frederic as a 56% WAR player who gives you good offense, good finishing, and he's a scorer. Again, we didn't see the best of Trent Frederic is my point. And
we saw the worst of him.
Oh, yeah, like without a doubt we did. I'm okay with this gamble to an extent. There's a part of me that's like 8 years, maybe it should have been 3.2 million then. Or like, you can really nitpick it. It's got a little bit of the who the hell were you negotiating against kind of stink to it. Like, was there really another team who was going to give this guy $30 million in guaranteed money? And Trent Frederic being a middle six guy, probably a third liner, was there like $30 million guaranteed over 8 years? That's a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know. It makes me nervous because you can only mess up so many times when you do shit like this. And like, it hasn't messed up yet. We're judging it so early on. It's just a lot of term and it's a high cap it. If he becomes a 15 to 20 goal guy every year, or if he becomes a really, really good third line center, great.
Yeah. And obviously that's what they're banking on. The way I'm kind of looking at this, if you want to put it this way, is Henrique stays, so you have Henrique and Frederic both making around $7 million, whatever that is, just under
6.7 million, 6.8.
Yeah, that was probably pretty easy math for me to
It was.
fly. Frederic goes. Next season, you have a third line center. I know everyone's going to look at the number of what he did a couple of years ago in Boston. And when you look, 17 goals that one season, he played 11 minutes and 55 seconds. All his goals, none of his goals were on the power play. I'm assuming they're all at 5-5, maybe a 4-4 goal here or there, whatever. Year after that, 18 goals, played 30 minutes, 45 seconds. He played that season with a Charlie Coyle who had 60 points and a Taylor Hall. The year he had 17 was Craig Smith on the other wing. Yep. And obviously those Boston teams were really, really good. But the others obviously want to go out and be at that level. And let's say, for example, Frederic can find a spot next to Draisaitl, or if you want to go down this rabbit hole too, Nugent Hopkins becomes a third-line center for next season. Frederic plays on his right wing. It's a pretty solid line. I know your left wing's a little bit open now, but you go find a winger to play with McDavid, whenever that may be. It doesn't necessarily have to be in the next couple of weeks either. That can be a deadline thing too. Like, there's a spot for this guy to find that similar success that he did with the Bruins, part of two really strong teams while he was there. Also, too, like, this guy had no time to, like, form himself in a special teams role.
Yeah.
I think he can become a penalty killer. I know it's not been like a huge thing in his career, but he's played on the penalty kill fairly regularly.
Usually he doesn't penalty kill because he's usually the one in the box.
Yeah.
In Boston. He had a penalty problem in Boston.
But I didn't find that when he was here, right? So maybe that side of it, he's matured a little bit more.
Yeah.
If you can get a penalty killing role, which he's going to have to, you need to justify this for sure. But my expectations aren't through the roof on this guy. I just expect him to kind of fall back to what he was or close to.
Yeah, and can I also, like, so someone said, Tyler, why wouldn't the Oilers just go 4 to 5 years? But using Evolving Hockey, who does like a calculator for extensions and value, Trent Frederic on a 4-year deal would apparently cost you $4.5 million. So the Oilers might have sat there and been like, whoa. If we like him for 4 or 5 years and that's going to cost us $4.5 million, let's knock the money down to 3.8. Let's save ourselves what honestly could have been closer to $1 million a year. And let's just do the 8 years. We'll worry about the back end of it when the cap shoots up. And do you have the chart of like what it's worth?
So yeah, this is him at $4 million. So you can still get an idea.
So by the last 3 years, he's the equivalent of a 2.9, 2.8, and $2.7 million player. And that's assuming the cap doesn't take a massive jump up in one of those years. That's just using like the basic inflation calculator or whatever. So again, if you wanted to go 4 or 5 years, AFP Analytics, who nails a ton of this shit, they had him at 2 by 3.5. I think you could have done 2 by 3.5.
Yes.
I think if you're going to 4 or 5, that's where the player's going to say, nope, you're buying my peak years. I want peak value. By going 8 years, you bring the cost down. So they didn't want to take a 2-year stab on him. They wanted to go term. My last point on this is going to be something Dave Pagnotta told us yesterday. Andrew Mangiapane's looking for $4 to $5 million. I think Connor Brown, and the news came out that he's going to be hitting the open market. Rashog and Spector reported it. I think Connor Brown might get $3.5 million.
I think you're right.
I think we are going to see a lot of guys. Olofsson. Basically just keep riffing through Kuzmenko, Roslovic. I think we're going to see a lot of these guys get a lot more than Trent Frederic. Someone in the chat, just remind me, say, hey, Tyler, on June 27th, you told me to remind you on July 2nd when we do the show, my thoughts on the Trent Frederic deal. Like, we'll judge it on July 2nd. I didn't word that very well. It was very confusing. But, like, someone in the chat remind me on July 2nd to revisit this, because I think the other deals that are coming out, much to your Don Waddell point in that quote, the deals that are coming out are going to stun us.
Yeah. It's going to be a stupid offseason.
Yeah.
Because there's too much money to play with for these GMs, and a lot of them have to make the cap floor.
And if you want to go like another layer deeper on this, if you think it's stupid this year, the cap is going up $8.5 million again next year. Yeah. The Oilers have $60 million in cap space next summer. Granted, Bouchard, McDavid probably eats up about 26 of it, 27 of it, 28 of it, 29 of it, 30 of it. Stop, fuck Tyler. But yeah. Who's saying Connor Brown's signing with the Kings? It's not free agency yet.
Here's the other thing too, Shooter. Just everyone in general. I don't know why I said specifically you. Brett Kulak tested free agency.
And came back home.
It doesn't necessarily mean the player is gone. You go out and explore it. One other thing too, I just wanted to bring up quickly because I brought up the players that Frederic had a lot of success with when he was with the Bruins. This past season, obviously, his numbers declined. His most common teammates when he played center were Justin Brazeau and Oliver Wahlstrom. Wahlstrom, I believe, was a waiver pickup by the end.
Yeah, I believe he was, buddy.
His other linemen, so he played 69 minutes and 7 seconds with those guys. They had 2 goals at 5-5. He's not a line driver. Second one was 64 minutes, 25 seconds. Charlie Coyle and Mark Kaslovic, who both had down seasons as well. This guy obviously needs to play with good players. Again, he's not a line driver, but he can play with quality line mates and be productive.
Yep.
It's not really breaking news, but hey, give a guy good line mates, he might score some goals. No, that is crazy.
All right. I want to get to a few. That's all the news we got today, right? Yes. We got rumors, but no news.
I believe so. From Pagnota, Islanders remain active. In addition to the action, I'm told some teams have called about Matt Barzal, including Utah and Vancouver.
Matt Barzal for 4th overall, anybody?
If Utah got him, boy, oh boy, they would become a great team.
But like, if you're the Islanders, let's not be
half in.
Yeah, let's rebuild.
Let's go in.
Rebuild this shit. Matthew Darsh, call him up. Aaron, can you get Matthew on the line?
Yeah.
Matthew, don't keep these fucking guys. Be bad for 3-4 years.
Yeah.
You know what's better than picking twice in the first round? Picking 3 times. Picking 4 times.
Yeah.
If the Islanders picked 1st, 4th, 16th, and 17th, why not? I mean, the last time a team had an opportunity to do something that drastic was the Boston Bruins when they picked 3 times in a row, and surely that led to multiple Stanley Cups.
The best part about the Bruins picking those 3 players is the 3 players that went after. It was like Thomas Chabot, Kyle Connor, and there's one other guy.
It was crazy.
Actually, it was Barzal.
Yeah, it was Barzal.
It was Barzal.
Because that was the Oilers pick.
Yep.
Womp womp. But again, if you're the Islanders, like, let's not be half pregnant here, boys. Let's go all in. Here's the game plan, Mr. Darsh. Matthew Barzal straight up to the Utah Mammoth in exchange for the 4th overall pick. You take James Hagens, 4th overall. You got Schaefer and Hagens. And then you call up your old buddy Stan Bowman. You say, Stan, I got this young, hot goalie, 29 years old. Ilya Sorokin will win you Stanleys. And Stan's like, yeah, no, I can see a path to that for sure. What do you want? Oh, God. How do you even build up a package for this?
How much does he make?
8.2.
So Skinner,
Arvidsson.
Yeah, you'd have to get a bit of a cap.
Skinner, Arvidsson, 2027 first-round pick, Bo Akey. You can flip Arvidsson.
Something close to that.
You keep half of Arvidsson. You flip him for a 2nd or a 3rd at the deadline if you're the Islanders. Boom.
And they can flip Skinner at the deadline if you wanted to as a UFA.
Or you just say, hey, 26-year-old Stuart Skinner, in 5 years when we're ready to compete, he's our veteran guy. And you let him develop.
I'm just looking at the Utah lineup. If they got Matt Barzal, their top 6 would be fucking nuts.
Spooky.
Futs.
Spooky. Scary.
Clayton Keller, Matt Barzal.
Crazy. Spooky. Hilarious. Not hilarious for the West.
Yeah, Clayton Keller, Matt Barzal, Dylan Gunther, Nick Schmaltz, Logan Cooley, and JJ Paterka. 3rd line would be Lawson Krause, Jake McBain.
Jack McBain.
Jack, what did I say, Jake? Isn't there a Jake McBain? Jake McCabe. Well, there you go. You can see it now. Matthias Michelli. 4th line needs some work, but
That lineup, you know what it is? That lineup's good enough to lose to the Oilers in the Western Conference Final.
Oh, yeah.
Especially if you add Matt Barzal.
Damn.
You'd have to give up Savoy or O'Reilly. I would give up O'Reilly.
Strong disagree. The Montreal Canadiens just gave up Emil Heinonen.
2 firsts, though.
2 firsts, I know, but like, you give them a first-round pick. Hell, give them 2 first-round picks if it means you can also keep Bowicky, to be honest.
Can you imagine if Ilya Sorokin came here and just sucked?
Oh. Do you know what? I truly could.
So could I. God damn. All right. Should we get to a rumor report? Sorokin. Yeah, everyone's fired up. Sorokin.
Thanks,
Let's get to a rumor report. It's brought to you by our friends at Sherwood Power Sports and Marine. Right in the heart of Sherwood Park. Their service department, top notch. They sell boats, ATVs, side-by-sides, motorcycles, e-bikes. I think they sell e-scooters. Also, all the fishing accessories that you need as well. Jovek says, doesn't solve your goaltending problem. No, getting Ilya Sorokin would solve your goaltending problem.
What do you want him to do? I've had people tell me how good Anton Forsberg is all week. And that Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen is going to be the second coming of Dominic Hasek.
Maybe like Terry Sawchuk's been cryogenically frozen and we can get him. Wake him up.
Crazy.
Unfreeze him. Get the hairdryer out.
Wouldn't help the problem.
Holy fuck.
Come on.
I saw someone yesterday on Twitter being like, Florida just went and got another good goalie while Edmonton sits on their hands. They got Daniil Tarasov.
I saw
Put a poll in the chat. Do you know who Daniil Tarasov is?
Someone posted an 8-minute compilation of Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen yesterday and just showed saves he made throughout the year. I promise you I could do the same thing with Stuart Skinner.
Yes.
And not just Skinner, any goalie in the NHL.
If there's any position where you don't just want to watch a highlight reel, it's goaltending. It's goalies.
Peck, don't get me wrong, he's obviously a good goalie. I was a bit harsh on him then for a second, but like, come on.
Milik goes, Sawchuk is too small. Right, my plan of cryogenically unfreezing Terry Sawchuk, the issue with that is that he doesn't have the size to compete. Tyler, would you do this? Trade Skinner a first, a second prospect for Sorokin? Yeah, I kind of just did say that, except it's Arvidsson instead of a second. Had a hell of a World Junior. I mean, look at every Canadian goalie ever. Always have a hell of a World Junior.
Jeff Glass was a special player.
Zach Fucale's this close to figuring it out. He's right there.
Yeah, he's on the brink. Mark Visentin, the only one.
God damn.
He's funny.
Okay, let's address some of the rumors. The Darnell Nurse thing that went down last night was bonkers. Pittsburgh is not giving you 12th overall in a trade for Darnell Nurse. I would argue as well, because this was the easy one. And you know what? Some of you might not like this. Tristan Jarry has 3 years left at $5.3 million. Darnell Nurse has 6 years left at $9.25. One of them is a bad goalie making a lot of money.
Yes.
The other one is an overpaid defenseman. There is a massive difference here. And I get that one of them makes 9 and the other one makes 5. The second you trade Darnell Nurse for Tristan Jarry, you save $4 million. Liam, are you replacing Darnell Nurse for $4 million?
Probably not.
Probably not.
Yeah.
A overpaid defenseman, if that's what you view Darnell Nurse as, you're justified. It is what he is. He's also still an NHL defenseman. Still a borderline top 4 D-man.
Scored some big goals in the playoffs.
Scored some big goals. Had some struggles, though,
totally.
to be fair.
Yes.
But, like, he's still a borderline top 4 defenseman.
Yes.
Tristan Jarry, I don't believe is an NHL goalie anymore. We know what it's like, Jack Campbell, to be strapped with a goalie who can't play at the NHL level. You're just signing up for dead cap space. Mm-hmm. Or he's sitting on your bench and you're wincing every time he goes into the game. He does not solve your goalie problem, and it does not solve your cap problem because you need to go trade and find a replacement for Darnell Nurse. And that's going to cost you more than the $4 million you saved. You're not better. Like, let's even do a exercise here where, okay, they freed up $4 million and they're going to run with Jarry and Skinner as their 2 goalies next year. So you go and with your savings, you take some of the extra money and you sign Ivan Provorov. Are you a better team with Provorov, Jarry, and Skinner as the 3? Or are you a better team with Nurse, Skinner, Pickard, and pick another $7 million option somewhere?
Yeah,
or
the
$4 million option. $4 million option, maybe, whatever.
Well, yeah, you probably are with the extra player. Yeah, they've been to a couple of Stanley Cups out here.
Like, if Pittsburgh wants to talk about a Darnell Nurse deal, I would do Darnell Nurse for Erik Karlsson. Because then you're out of it quicker, and you still have the defenseman who can play. I mean, granted, he's not as good in his own end as Darnell Nurse is, but you're basically just going all in on being the Golden State Warriors and being offense. And you're going to get pucks to Connor and Leon, and you're going to kill teams in transition. But, like, you're out of the deal in 2 years. So, like, that makes sense to me. Trading him for Jari makes no sense. And here's the other wrinkle I'll throw in it. Why would he waive his no movement clause to go to Pittsburgh?
Yeah, looking at the Penguins, obviously Karlsson would be the most appealing player.
I would attach a first, and I would try to get Rust in the deal.
Well, I was thinking, like, they have guys who are on, like, 3 years left on their deals. Like, Brian Rust, Raquel, another guy. Honestly, Thomas Novak, he only has 2 years. Like, a guy like Ryan Graves, who isn't good anymore. But I feel like those are the kind of guys you're probably going to have to look at if this was to ever come about, and I really don't think it will. Tristan Jarry I would not touch. You just can't do that. That's like... You think Skinner and Pickett's a risk? That's a risk that you just are not in a position to take. Like, if they were like, hey, like, we'll give you Brian Rust and we'll retain $1 million on Graves and you have to take Nurse and we'll take Nurse. It's probably more what I would think.
But, like, here's where it's just not realistic. One, we talked about the TV's broken. We talked about and Mulek says no one wants Jari. And yes, like, no one wants Jari.
And we don't want him.
And I get that the people who are throwing out this deal also don't want him. But it doesn't solve your cap problem flipping Nurse for Jari. Yes, you're out of it in 3 years, but you still need a goalie, and now you have a hole on your blue line. It doesn't fix your cap issue. It does not make you better for next season. And could you trade for Jari and buy him out? I guess. How ugly is it? No, his buyout's okay. You would save 3.6. So you could get Jari, but no, next year his cap hits $5 million. And then his 4.5 the year after that. The buyout sucks.
To be completely honest, if I was to trade Darnell Nurse, and again, I think Nurse is obviously a decent player. Like, I think someone said it before. He's overpaid by like $3 million. Like, if he was $6 billion, you'd be.
And Tristan Jari's overpaid by $4.5 million.
Yeah, you probably just want to trade him for a couple of picks and just have the cap space.
The Jari buyout sucks. Everyone stop saying it in the chat.
Yeah, like I almost just wouldn't want a player to come back unless they actually had some value to me. Like, if it was like Brian Rust for Darnell Nurse, I might consider something.
I would do that because you're out of it quicker and you're getting a quality player.
Yeah, but like,
even if you had to attach,
it leaves a huge hole.
Even if you had to attach a future to it, I would attach a future to it.
Yeah.
Would I keep $4 million of Darnell Nurse to move him? No, that's lunacy.
No, and I would move Nurse if you could.
I would
just
too.
wouldn't do it in a way that you lose the trade.
They're not trading Nurse for the 12th overall pick in the draft, and Darnell Nurse, why would he waive to go to Pittsburgh? Why would he do that?
Well, him and Kyle Dubas were in junior together. Tyler,
that's a good reason to
surely
uproot.
That means
that's
something.
A good reason to uproot your family and leave a Stanley Cup contender because you liked the GM in junior.
I also feel like the chat here, we're just kind of playing the hits again of Darnell Nurse sucks, which I get in the playoffs. Yes, Cup finals, it dwindled. Darnell was solid for 82 games of the regular season. Last year, up until the All-Star break, was good.
Remember the reverse CTE era after he got hit by Reeves?
Damn.
Special time. Look.
You got to, like, again, we keep making it the Cup final, but you got to go through 82 games first. Darnell helps you win 82 games.
Something I think a lot of people need to wrap their head around. You guys listen up. You're not part of this, but you can hear me out. Not every player that doesn't play for the Edmonton Oilers is better. But I know that might be a difficult concept for some of you to grab, but like every trade that is made, you can't look at it and be like, damn, the Oilers should have done that one. Or like when all these players sign on July 1st, you can't look at it all and be like, why didn't the Oilers just do that? It's like sometimes they're just not a fit.
It's part of the reason
they're also just not better.
It's part of the reason I'm almost in a way happy they have no assets because at least we didn't have to do 40 minutes today on should you have traded that package for Noah Dobson. Nurse has been dog shit in the playoffs 4 years in a row now, regardless of injury or D partner. And Naeem also asked, does he have any value as a pure captain? No. No competitive team is taking him off your hands for free, and he will only waive to go to a competitive team. My fidget today, by the way, has been this hockey puck.
He was actually much better in the playoffs this year than he was last year.
He was good early, got bad later.
Which also shows that, like, how good of a player he is in the sense of, like, if you get worse as the playoffs go on and it gets harder, that shows where you're at. Like Kane.
Yep.
But unfortunately, guys, a Twitter rumor was wrong.
What?
And I'm not going to sit here and pretend for you all that, like, hey, maybe he'll get better. He won't. This is who he is. And if I wanted to put a timeline on when we could possibly see Nurse move, I would think it's something next offseason when you only have, 4 years left after that one. Like, I think that's an easier pill for teams to swallow. The cap's going up a lot. Some team could take on his full cap hit. I don't think this year's the year.
Yep, should have just done Ekholm and Arvidsson for Dobson. You're right, Marianosa.
Thank you, Marion.
The Islanders were like, we want to pick in the first round. Can you imagine Stan Bowman called them? Was like, Ekholm and Arvidsson.
They were on the Four Nations.
Oh, shit. DJ's in. Dobson got traded to Montreal.
What? For who?
It's going to be very funny when we play the Demers interview and I do that again. Whoa, shit. Okay, let's wrap up the rumor mill. We're just going to end the show. We're giving you guys bonus time today. We're just going to end the show with the Demers chat because it was so good.
I would say, please stick around for it because his draft story is incredible.
Yeah, at the end of his interview, he tells the story of getting picked in the draft and, like, so cool. Yeah. JD's the best.
It's not funny. It's inspirational.
It is.
It truly
like,
is a crazy story.
We had to pre-tape it because I'm taking our 20 minutes of free time. I'm going for a run. That's how much he inspired me. Like, I'm going to do push-ups the whole time.
Damn.
Yeah. All right. McKay and Dry breaking Holloway and Broberg to the Blues.
Do we have anything else?
Yeah, I want to read Rashog's tweet.
Okay.
This is what Rashog had to say today. This is rumor mill stuff, although Rashog's a reporter. Reporter mill stuff.
Reporter mill.
I'm sure the Oilers are open to an upgrade in net, but change for the sake of change isn't going to be made. Tossing aside a relatively young goalie with a great cap hit and back-to-back cup finals under his belt won't be taken lightly. If a clear option is found, either in tandem with or replacing Skinner, they'll explore it. If it's not, I'd expect they stand pat until something emerges. If they can clear out enough cap space, I'd expect them to explore an upgrade for their top six wingers, someone who can play next to 97 and 29 and move the needle. Savoy and Frederic are options to compete for those spots as well. Right shot 4C will be looked at, though Philp will be given a chance. Okay, I'll start with the goaltending. This is going to be very unpopular, and honestly, just don't even clip it because I don't want to get yelled at all weekend. But we talked about how awful the free agent goalies are this year, right? Mm-hmm. Sorted by games played, the top five are Georgiev, Riddick, Allen, Forsberg, and Lyon. Forsberg is maybe the only one I'm mildly warming up to, but even that I'm wincing.
Lyon's the other one.
Lyon, yeah, but
if I had to pick, yeah. I agree though.
Next year's free agents between the pipes: Philip Gustafson and Minnie, Bob. Okay, Skinner, okay. Both those don't belong here or in this conversation. But Jacob Markstrom, Cam Talbot, Peter Mrazek, Alex Nedeljkovic, Anthony Stolars, Thatcher Demko might be signing an extension. There's Eric Comrie, Connor Ingram, Laurent Brossoit was the other one who I found kind of interesting because if Brossoit were to go and play the first half of the season in Chicago and look good, maybe there's a conversation. But like, is it the craziest idea that one of Detroit, Minnie, or New Jersey are way worse than expected next year?
Probably not New Jersey, but I would think those.
I think New Jersey could be.
You think so?
I think they could be
Why?
a disappointment. I think their forward group is very overrated.
Yeah.
Their blue line has upside, but that development's not always a straight line. I could just see a world where they're disappointing next year. Anyways, there's a chance that one of Gustafson, Markstrom, or Talbot are just available next year mid-season, especially if Minnesota, like if Gustafson's getting outplayed by Wallstedt at some point, which Gustafson's a pretty up-and-down goalie. He's had a great year, but he's had bad years as well, as you pointed out to me. There's a chance there's just a good goalie on the market at next year's deadline. And like, I don't know, the Oilers are going to be a playoff team. The goalies at the deadline who would have one more year left on their deal at that point would be Montembeault, Binnington, Kemper, Kochetkov, Gibson. I mean, maybe the Ducks by the deadline are more open to keeping half of Gibson because they go, it's a year and a half now.
Maybe, yeah, it's not as bad.
Varlamov would be in that mix too. I just think there might be a path to an in-season trade that gives you more upside than just signing Anton Forsberg. And granted, you could sign Anton Forsberg and then go make the in-season trade as well. Maybe that's ultimately the route that they do go, but...
Max puts in the chat, Markstrom is going to be 37, Talbot is going to be 40. They're not the answers whatsoever. Just throwing away another year.
But they're not the answers for 3-4 years down the line, but why can't they give you a run?
And also, too, like, age is just a number, folks. Are you performing?
Yeah, like,
truly, like,
that's what I mean.
Are you
like,
playing well?
And I agree, acquiring Talbot now would be a massive risk.
Totally.
If
he would not be for me.
If he has a 9-12 on a shitty Detroit team at the deadline, sign me up.
Yeah, maybe then. Maybe something like that. I don't disagree with you. It's going to be I really don't know which way they're going to go. But I would like to preface something because there seems to be this bit of a stigma online about us, Tyler.
About us?
About us. Believe it or not. About surrounding goaltending.
Okay.
If you can believe it.
Is it that we don't know what we're talking about? Because that might be true.
We want them to get a better goaltender.
Yes.
There just might not be one that they can get. Well, there is not one in free agency that is like a clear, like someone put in the chat, they need an elite goalie. Agreed. Where? Because Gibson's not elite. I think Gibson's a good goalie, and I know we shied away from him at the deadline this year, but like since part of a new season, look at things a bit differently. I would think he's a better option now than he was. I just think the Oilers are going to have a very difficult time finding this guy. I really hope they can. And if Gibson's the answer, then great. I can't wait.
Yeah.
I just don't know if that's right. Someone put Seelovs, I wouldn't even think about it. It's just like, well, I know the upside's somewhat there, but also too, like, eventually in that series against Vancouver, I know it was 2 years ago, the Oilers found a way to figure that guy out. And he
Counterpoint, the Oilers eventually figure everyone but Bobrovsky out.
True. That's why I would never acquire Jake Ottinger. Don't clip that. He's not the answer for me. You need a sure thing. Gibson probably is the closest to a sure thing if Demko doesn't get signed.
Yep.
Oh, the one thing I wanted to bring up, just very quickly. Masai Ujiri gone from the Toronto Raptors.
Yep.
That is crazy stuff. I know
Goodbye, Giannis.
Yeah. But what an era of Raptors basketball. Made that team incredibly relevant in the NBA. Obviously brought the championship, which I think changed basketball in Canada forever. So, yeah, it's end of an era, truly. I really don't know what's going to happen with that.
Hashtag in Masai, we trust. We lived it for years. He brought us a championship. That's like the only non-Patriots chip I've ever enjoyed before, so it was lovely. But Giannis, Liam,
very well.
That kind of kills the Giannis idea.
It does kill the Giannis idea, which sucks. But maybe that's why he got fired. Because they were like, are you going to get Giannis? And he was like, no.
It sounds like he wanted to leave. So, I don't know.
He's going to go do it with another franchise. He did it with the Nuggets. He'll do it with the Raps.
Or he's just going to go run his more philanthropical
NBA Africa
things.
Stuff.
Yeah.
The what?
Philanthropical.
What is that?
Philanthropy.
Philanthropy. More philanthropical endeavors.
Okay. Sure.
If Liam didn't laugh, I was just going to let that. Yeah, that sounded right.
Yeah, it made sense.
Sounded good.
Okay. Any Wallman extension talk? I would not be the least bit surprised if he signed something that's around a 6x6 this summer.
God. That 6x6.
6x6, 6x7, yeah.
Interesting.
We got to do this. We got to do this. You know what? We're going to call it our Sherwood Ford Giant moment of the show is what we're going to do. We surprised, Derek Ryan reached out to us via Instagram. Kennedy took over, communicated with DR and his wife. He basically said, hey, before I leave town, if you didn't hear, he's moving back to Spokane and going to go retire. He was like, before I leave town, I would love to give Waz a gift. So he gifted Waz an autographed game-used Derek Ryan jersey. So the video's up on our social as well.
Incredible.
It's awesome, man. DR10, what a fucking awesome human being. The fact he, and they said in the video, if you watch, you can hear his wife say, like, he's wanted to do this for months. I love that he is like aware and knew Waz loved him. And again, he could have not done this and like no one would have been like thought any differently of him. He's already thought of as like a great Oiler and all of that. But like the fact he goes out of his way, reaches out to get this organized, and then has a big smile on his face and chats with Waz for 10 minutes was awesome.
Great stuff. And we talk about Demers' career and how that turned out to be once you hear that. But like Derek Ryan, another guy, like
Yeah.
played in Austria for 3 years before his first NHL game, and then cranked out 606 NHL games, 60 playoff games, obviously a cup final appearance, and didn't play this year, but was there. Just incredible stuff from Derek Ryan, and great to show Waz some love. Just Waz had no idea this was happening. Just
Yeah, he thought he was, and he was like angry at the office because
Yeah,
I
he
mean,
was
anytime
mad.
you ask Waz to leave the office, he's like, "What?" He thought he had to go like do a shoot for a home builder. It was very funny.
Yeah, this is great. Now, Devin Shaw thinks I'm German, and now Derek Ryan
Knows who Waz is.
knows Waz.
Yep.
We all meet our
Okay.
heroes one day.
What is this? WTF Oilers signing Mason Appleton? Are you guys just saying stuff in the chat to see if I bite?
I hope so, because they've been doing it all day. Also, someone before, I think, sorry, your name keeps scrolling by. I think it was Ryan Nugent something. Said Sea Love shows up for every game in the American Hockey League. It's not
Yeah.
the same.
Nope.
Nothing on Mason
Ollie
Appleton.
Rodriguez had a good year in the AHL.
So did Stuart Skinner a few years ago.
What's trending? Trump ending all trade talks with Canada immediately.
Wow, we're NATO now.
Oh, we're good?
I think so.
Whatever
I don't
that
know.
fucking
I
means.
tried to follow, and then it's difficult.
Does this affect the cap? That's all I care about. Salary cap affected? All right. Let's do Jason Demers. First off, I want to thank everybody for watching this week because so many of you tuned in, and it's awesome.
Incredible. Thank you very much.
Yeah, the fact that so many of you still tune into this goofy show, even when there's no hockey to talk about, we love it. I'll give you a quick question, Liam. By the time we hit the air, or you know what? Here's one. Are we doing an emergency show at some point this weekend?
I hope not. I actually booked a round of golf for tomorrow in preparation.
Ooh, where are you playing? Broadmoor?
Whoa, what time? Oh, I'm 11:18.
Oh, nice.
See you
You got to get in good form for the
I
bachelor
know.
party.
That's why I'm like, I gotta go and get a couple.
And the Oilers Nation Open.
I'm not here.
You're gone?
I'm gone again. It's always that week. You're gone all of August. It's the only week I could go.
Yeah, that's fair.
Sorry, I know. I've always buck it, and then they buck it right over. I know it sucks, but we'll figure it out. But yeah, I gotta get around. It's my second round of the year, and I know it's gonna be bad. There you go. Oilers Nation Open.
There you go. Register today, nationgear.ca. Oh, damn it. There's so much I want to talk about.
That's okay. We got 7 minutes.
We do, because we can play Demers just leading out. You don't have anywhere to be, right, Aaron? Oh, yeah, fuck that. Free agency, shmee agency. Did you hear the debate from real life yesterday?
I saw, but I'm a little unsure. So are you the one doubting yourself, or is Jay doubting you?
Jay's down on me. So we're on real life, and BM threw out one of the hypotheticals that was going around online where it's like, if someone came up to you right now and said, I will give you $1 million, or they're going to sit you at a par 3 hole that's like 160 yards, and if you make a hole in one in 48 hours, you get 20 million versus the 1 million guaranteed. Would you take that?
Yes.
Okay. So then it kind of just evolved from there on real life to the point where I told Jay, if you gave me 24 hours at a par 3 that was 160 to 170 yards, middle pin, I said in 24 hours I could make a hole in one.
Okay. I would think so.
Keep in mind, I'm an 8 to 9 handicap.
Yeah.
I break 80. I'm 50-50. I'm usually like high 70s, low 80s, right in that range. So like I'm a pretty good, I'm an above average golfer. I think I could do it. Jay was so confident I couldn't. He said he will give me $5,000 if I do it.
Whoa.
The trade-off is if I don't, I got to donate $500 to charity.
Okay. That's
So I'm
low.
taking those odds. And then the idea is we need, and this is a call to action for all the listeners, we need to find a golf course that has like a 19th hole kicking around.
You could just try like Rundle or something like that, right?
But no, we have to, but a course won't give me the hole for 24 hours.
But no, I think they have 19 holes.
Oh, okay.
I think.
I was thinking more like if we could find a course, I think Millwoods we need to reach out to them. But if we need to find a course that has a 19th hole that they use as a spare for when like, you know, the hole closes or whatever. So we need to find a course with a 19th hole.
Oh, I know one. Countryside Golf Club definitely has a 19th hole.
Okay.
That's
So
how
we're
they
working.
totally do.
They actually have 28 holes.
So we need to find that, and then we need to make sure
There you
you
go,
have
Countryside.
decent internet out there.
Yeah.
And if the golf course is willing to do the sponsorship package, which again, you'd get the publicity of us doing a 24-hour stream there. I am going to stream it. Eli said he'd step up and take some shifts producing it. We'll do a whole thing. Guests would swing by and probably chat with me. I'd be mic'd up the whole time. We'll do a camera on the green, a camera on me. We're going to do like activations and stuff. We're going to make this a thing.
Okay.
And I'm going to try to get a hole-in-one for $5,000.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. Someone actually Cole dropped in Countryside as 19, just as I said it. So yeah, I'm pretty confident. I know they do.
In 24 hours is what, not 48? You have to do it in 24?
24.
I think you could definitely do it.
I think I could do it. I would probably tee off, like I'd start it at probably 6 a.m. and hope that I do it by the time the sun goes down. Mm-hmm. And then the only thing we'd have to talk about would be like, if I don't do it by sundown, are we finding floodlights? And am I going into the night?
We would
or
find
can you pause and come back in the morning?
Or do I pause and get 6 hours? No, you got to get...
No, that's a part of it.
So again, the course would have to be willing to like help us out a little bit here.
My only reference, I looked it up, Jersey Jerry, he did the golf simulator one. It took him 2,600 swings, 2,627 swings, 37 hours. But that's simulator, and you're better than him.
He's like a 35. Like he's not a good golfer.
Yeah. So I think
my odds are probably 3 times better than his. So the idea that I could do it in 12, I don't think is crazy.
Blisters, you'd have to be blister prepared.
Yeah,
I would
that's
wear
fair.
double gloves.
Oh yeah, maybe you go double glove.
I would double glove.
Teddy two gloves, yeah. I think I could do it. And the people in the replies, so there's a couple of things here at play. The people in the replies on Twitter were saying like 5%, 4%, 1%. And people kept throwing out the stat of when you ask like AI, ChatGPT, whatever, what are the odds of a 9 handicap golfer getting a hole-in-one?
Yeah.
And it's like 1 in whatever, 12,000. But that is a hole-in-one every time you play golf as like one shot on that par 3.
Not like consecutively.
I get to learn from my mistakes. I get to, again, knowing if this is 160 to 170, I get a week to prepare. I know the day this is coming. I can go to the driving range and hit my 6-iron or 7-iron as much as I need to like figure. I just need to be able to hit one club straight. And also, I already have the benchmark of being an above average golfer. And I get, again, if I can hit 100 balls an hour, stamina would be a thing. I totally agree. I would get very tired and very sore at one point. But if I can manage that early on and I crush some beers, I'll be more than okay.
Unless you hit it early.
Well, that's the other thing, too, is like, what if I get it in the first 100 balls? Like, I don't know, man. I think I could do it.
I think you could too. Like, I don't think it's going to be easy, obviously.
So
but
the other thing,
you're a better golfer than me, but that 5,000 to 500 is such good odds that even
odds.
I'd be like, I'm in.
Yeah, they definitely. I've got it up right now. Good.
What happens when you chunk it so hard you break your 6-iron? I would probably pack a second 6-iron, actually. That's good thinking. But we would also think about doing a thing on nationgear.ca where you can buy into either the yes or no pot. Ooh. So we'll do $20 and you buy for yes or no. And if you're right, we're going to do like a whatever course I'm at, we'll ask them for like a foursome and maybe like $100 to the pro shop. And then we'll maybe do tickets to a game next year and a jersey from like, if we can get another sponsor to step up. So like you'd have skin in the game. Someone said 6-iron from 160. I don't hit my irons that long.
Yeah, I don't hit mine. Period.
160 is probably more of a 7-iron, but if I were to, I would probably want to tee it up high so I don't have to swing as hard and I can loft it in the air. Because that's the other thing too. I wouldn't want to just be like with my 7-iron have to exert myself every time to get it there.
Yeah.
I'd want a low club. Maybe I'd try to like run some drivers up. Ooh, that actually wouldn't even be a bad strategy depending on how the hole is. Just try to like run some drivers up.
You'll have to mix a few things up, I think.
Yeah, like shorten up my swing on a few. I think I could do it. I think I could totally
think you could
do
it too. I'm not going to give you a percentage. I'm just saying you could do it.
All right. Thank you.
100%.
Out of my 5,000, how much of a cut would I have to give one of you, or maybe both of you, to alternate shifts of clearing balls off the green for me?
Pay me in beers. I'm a team guy. I'd find a way. Like, I'm not doing the full 24 hours.
Like, no.
I can do a shift.
But like, if I got like you two and one other guy to like alternate,
it's not like a sim where the ball just disappears.
I know. So I would want someone to be sitting next to the green. So if I said like, I'd cover all your drinks while you do it, and we'll go for a steak dinner if I get the money.
I'm in. I'm a team guy.
You just got to go clear balls off the green. And also you could then be mic'd up and be like, oh, you missed it by this, like whatever.
I'm going to take some celebrity swings as well. And then what if I hit it?
I'll say this. If Jake can hit a home run at the baseball park, you can hit a hole-in-one. Jay doesn't play baseball. You golf every day.
I golf 3 times a week.
And that was a major league size station.
Yeah.
I was 100 through 6 yesterday.
For Jay to doubt you
I know.
is pretty on brand.
See, someone said ChatGPT says 12,500 to 1 and the odds don't change much because it's the same hole. Yes, they do. I get to sit there for 24 hours, even if I sleep for half of it or I rest for half of it. Like 12 hours. Come on.
And same hole, you're getting in a groove, you're feeling the same weight.
There'll be a run where I'm getting real close.
I think it'll be great.
There'll be a run where you'd lose it as well, but
probably.
I would talk to Countryside. That'd be a good one. They
All right, well,
have
if anyone is listening to this and can hook us up, let me know. We would love to make this happen. I think it'd be awesome content to do a 24-hour live stream.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, we're going to wrap up the show with our interview with Jason Demers. It is awesome. One of my favorite interviews we've done recently. JD brought the noise, gave us some great opinions, and a great story at the end. It's on the Star Mechanical guest line, Edmonton's #1 plumbing and heating company. You can find out more about what makes them Edmonton's #1 plumbing and heating company by visiting them online at starmechanical.ca. Here is Jason Demers. Always a pleasure to be joined by our dear friend, former NHLer Jason Demers, who has a rooster on his hat.
Cock-a-doodle-doo, boys.
Yeah, wake up. Waking up to the Trent Frederic contract was certainly something. What do you make of the Oilers going long term with Frederico?
I don't know. I guess we're looking for, and Stan Bowman is eyeing the improvement and vast improvement from this year and health that Trent Frederic will have. I mean, I'm a little at a loss that there's 4 years of a no move to start. That's just ridiculous. But at the end of the day, I don't think within the first 4 years anybody's going to want to trade for him. If you do want to trade him, because not in a bad way, but like no one's going to want to take on a 6-7 year deal for a bottom six guy. So. We've seen this kind of stuff. I never think it ages well. I think it's like good on the player for getting that deal and getting a team to commit to you that long term. But there's too many variables, and we're in a league that's changing so fast, and the landscape is constantly evolving and changing. And back to probably in the 90s, early 2000s, like those deals were they made more sense because there wasn't as much turnover. Now it's every day there's a different kid coming into the league, and for cheaper, for better. And I just feel like you're within these 8 years going to find somebody to be able to do what he does for cheaper. So, and now you got Connor Brown testing free agency. I'd have much rather kept Connor Brown than Trent Frederic. So.
Stan Bowman has said he wants to get younger. That's going to be one of his things. And the challenge, I guess, will be like trying to make this roster younger while keeping them in this Stanley Cup window, because you can't just trade guys for prospects or whatever, and you can't just also find 23, 24-year-olds on the free agent market. So I think this is a little bit of an attempt at doing that. Is like, okay, he's 27 and like they see some upside, but I just don't understand like $3.85 million. If that was his ask on an 8-year deal, like is his ask on a 4-year deal that much different? Like to your point, you should be able to find Trent Fredericks for cheaper as you go on. So I don't know. It's very perplexing for me. But if it works, it's going to look great. But like these things just rarely ever work. Look at Pierre Engvall.
I mean, Pierre Engvall, look at Cal Yarncroc. Like, there's a lot of guys that sign those long-term deals that, it's, you don't know what's going to happen either health-wise as well. And, they might be saying, hey, the cap hit's not huge, but over time, like if he gets hurt or something bad happens, or he just falls off a cliff in 3 years, I mean, you're stuck with that cap space. Now you can buy him out, but it's like, do you want to just keep doing that and kind of perpetuating that cycle? Again, I'm a players getting their deals, getting their money kind of guy. So I'm like, at the end of the day, I'm like, good for you, Trent Frederic. But as pulling back as somebody in the media space, as well as somebody, that is trying to make sense of this, I just, maybe if there wasn't any frills attached to it and there wasn't a no move clause or anything like that, I'd be fine with it. But the fact that there's all of that, it's just like, it gets worse and worse. So we'll see. You
just kind of hope he becomes Nick Paul in the sense of like a player who signed a long-term deal and has done really well in Tampa
that's
Bay
a good
on
example.
that deal, like to come out on the positive side of it, I would think. But what else do you think the Oilers need to do, JD, this offseason? Like they've already moved Kane. It looks like Arvidsson's going to be out the door pretty quick too. Like goaltending is obviously a huge conversation. Do you think that's the most important thing they have to address?
I mean, goalies indeed. I mean, it just is what it is. Like I harped on it last year. I harped on it when we talked at the start of the year. That is the two things at the end of the day that will always hold them back just a little bit. They have to find some sense of a solid top four lefty righty that can work, and then you need to find goaltending that is not going to be getting yanked in the playoffs every 3 games, and the only way to kind of have him be dialed in, and nothing against him, and I thought he did play well, Skinner, for portions of that playoffs, but for him to get pulled and then come back on rest, it's the same thing. And you look in Carolina with like Freddie Anderson. Freddie Anderson's great, but when he's rested and he's playing, every 3-4 days in between games, and he's not being overused, it's like you need a goalie like a Bobrovsky. I know you can't get that. There's not many out there, but you need to find something that you can lean on in tough times. Like they got lucky 2 years in a row with playing putting picks in when Skinner struggled. That's not going to last. That won't be able to last long term, and eventually it's going to come back to bite you in the ass. And then on D, I just think their D-core had a lot of points in the playoffs. I thought they gave up a lot. I thought they played well, and the biggest issues, I think they had something really going there, and I think Matthias Ekholm coming back, obviously not at full strength, hurt that D-core because it just jumbled everything. They lost Brett Kulak. Brett Kulak just kind of lost his confidence, and I just think it threw everything into a blender. And we kind of talked about it, I think, before that series, being like, it's one of those things, like no one wants to say it, being like, do you bring him back or do you wait until game 2 against Florida? And if you guys keep winning, you just stay with it because you're winning. Why stay with you're winning. Like it in the playoffs, it's different when like you're, in the season and you have time to bring back a guy that was injured. And even though you lose a couple games, you're still in the playoff hunt. It's like, this is the Stanley Cup Finals. It's like you're putting your best lineup out there with health in mind, I think. And that's always a hard conversation to have, I think, for fans, because any fan in the chat, it's like, what an idiot. You're got to play your best players. But it's like he hadn't played for majority of the year and their D-core was rolling. So at what point does that kind of the scales get tipped in the favor of like, maybe this isn't a good idea?
Are you worried about Ekholm next season? Like, I know he was just injured, obviously, but like he's 35 now.
The thing is, he plays a hard game, and he's played a hard game, and he's a warrior, and he's taken a lot of damage, and he plays a lot of minutes and it's all the more reason of like they need to bring in some D that can take some pressure off. He can't be playing 25 minutes a night. I think it's kind of, you look at the D that kind of play like he does. You look at like a Pietrangelo and look at the cliff he's fallen off. I think he's done all next year. So that's the rumors I'm hearing, is that he might be done. So it's like, don't quote me on it, but all signs are kind of pointing to that in Vegas, and that's what you want to avoid. And you need to start thinking about the future on the D-core, because they don't, in Bakersfield, I mean, you have Cam Dineen and he was there, and he's an offensive guy, and I love his game, but like Phil Kemp and guys that haven't really had the opportunity to come up. So it's like, who is going to replace all these guys? Can't be Troy Stetcher, John Klingberg, and Darnell Nurse, because who knows where those guys are going too. So they have a lot of questions, and I think they have to take an absolute swing on the D-core, and I think they need to revamp it. But they need to take, I think Stan Bowman needs to mortgage whatever future's left and whatever picks are left, and because you got to keep that window. As long as you have Connor and Leon, you have to keep the window open. And once they retire, you can worry about rebuilding and going on a full rebuild. But you just keep throwing the kitchen sink every offseason and try to win a cup. And I think that's just the way Stan Bowman, I think I heard his press conference, or just some quotes about him, and he kind of alluded to that, being like, we're going to take a swing. So hoping to see it on the back end first.
What do you make of, listen, this is a story that was really popping a week ago, but what do you make of the Connor McDavid shit and everyone who's pointing and going, oh, he might be leaving. We're obviously not buying any of it, but do you think there's anything to it?
No, I think he's doing it the right way. I think we all said the same thing. We're like, make them prove to you that you have the Edmonton Oilers and the franchise in mind of trying to win a Stanley Cup. Like, show me the moves you're doing. If I was Connor, I would take a 1 to 2 year extension and at max and just say, listen, show me. Build the team. I want to see it. I don't want to sign 8 years and then all of a sudden we're having to be the difference every playoffs. And now that is their job. They're the two of the best players in the league, but you win with the team, and you saw that with Florida. Every guy contributed to that Stanley Cup the last 2 years. So it's not going to be Connor and Leon. And you heard the comments, and if I'm Connor and listen to the comments from the Florida Panthers and everything, and how they've just been dragging Edmonton. I'm going in that room and being like, put a team around me. Like, let's go. Let's build a team. That's our Detroit Pistons. If you want to go back to basketball and give the comparison of, this is the Pistons versus the Edmonton was the Chicago Bulls, where, they finally ascended. And I think Connors understands that. And I like that he's taking that ploy, and I hope he does sign a 1 to 2 year deal and goes to Stan Bowman and ownership and says, spend, mortgage, whatever you got to mortgage, but let's build the best possible team. And then I'll commit to you guys for 8 years, the rest of my career.
The only thing I could, my counter argument to the 1 to 2 year deal is I think Connor, like what little we know about him in the public personally, he doesn't like the drama. He doesn't like the noise. If he were to sign an 8-year deal, and this is the last summer now that players can sign 8-year deals, if he were to sign an 8-year deal, if by year 3 it's not going well, he just walks into Stan Bowman's office and says, trade me to one of these two teams, please, and they have to do it, right? Like, you can't hold them hostage.
Yeah, but you talk about noise, that'd be a lot of noise if he does that as well. You know what I mean? So it's kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. So I think it's really just going to be what's his comfort level, and I think that's just more of a marketing ploy by him to pressure them and force their hand to maybe stay as competitive as possible. Because if he does get an 8-year deal, you don't want to sign him and then he leaves after 3 years and wants out, and then you're trying to find the best deal for him, and teams know he wants to leave, and now you're getting fleeced. Like, I think this is if I'm management as well, best case scenario I think is for Connor to sign a 2-year deal and sign max, and you guys can work together and prove. And then if it looks like it's not working and you can't get the right deals done, I mean, you get Max Hall for Connor McDavid, and you just kind of, and I just think it gives more power to him.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to do the Bouchard one or the draft one?
Yeah, okay, let's do Bouch really quick. We obviously got your reaction to the Trent Frederic deal. Let's say 2 days from now it comes down the pipe, 8 years, 10 schmil for Evan Bouchard. What would your reaction be to that?
I love Bouch. I mean, come on, man. They wouldn't generate any offense with the back end without him, honestly. I mean, he's so dynamic. I know, listen, you have to take the stuff that pisses you off with Evan Bouchard. It is what it is, because what pisses you off is what makes him so good, is his calm in the pocket. He's just, it leads to mistakes, but that guy was asked to do way too much defensively these playoffs. I don't think it's all the more reason to, listen, he can handle those minutes, and I think he can do so and play a good defensive role, but to lean on him as like your foundational defensive piece in a lot of these playoff series is just not fair to him, and it's not, maximizing his value. So I think obviously it's going to be what you build around him, and I think the better decoy you build around him, the better he'll be, and he'll be able to. I mean, listen, you can play him 18 minutes or 27, he's going to get scoring chances, he's going to create, he's with that power play that's just so dynamic and amazing, and they just complement each other so well. So I just think that's the market. There's growth in the cap. The cap's going to keep going up. It seems like they want to bring in more teams. They want to add more games, more revenue. So I just think it's going to go up in that fashion. So this might end up being a deal where early on you're like, this is a great deal. Maybe later, but I don't think it'll matter later if the cap keeps going in a certain direction. And, by the time his contract's up, he might you might be buying him out or something. But I just think I think Bouch takes care of himself. He's been healthy. That's another thing too, is a D-man that's healthy, that's that offensive and is a good thing to have. So I like it. I'm a fan of his. I think he's earned it. People saying he hasn't earned it. I mean, he's been in 2 Cup finals.
Whoa.
What?
We got breaking news from Kevin Weeks. Noah Dobson is apparently going to the Montreal Canadiens. That is a big boy splash.
For who?
I'm assuming it's going to be their 2 first-round picks or something like that.
They have a ton of defensive prospects too.
Yeah, maybe like a Logan Mailloux.
I think Logan Mailloux is going back too. Apparently, I think a couple days ago he started following the Bridgeport Sound Tigers. So it seems to be all. And Logan Mailloux is kind of he's a good offensive D-man. Was good in the A. My dad, Darnell Nurse, has some comments about him, thinking that he's a good player, but might not be. When he, playing experienced teams, he struggled a little bit. So, but Noah Dobson it's a good splash. Noah Dobson, Lane Hudson, you have 2 insane puck movers. This was the deal we wanted to make, if you remember, Ty.
Yep.
At the deadline, I was yelling from the rafters. Everybody told me, why would you trade Noah Dobson? I said, this is the highest value for Noah Dobson. People were screaming at me, Brian Boyle. I said, you could get a big haul for him. And, he had a great season last year, but he's one of those guys that I think he's not a 10 mil. I think he's like between 6 to 8, and I think you can get a good amount of capital from draft capital. So good job by the Islanders. Matthew Darsh swinging from the hips, building the team he wants to build, and I mean they're drafting Schaefer for sure, first overall. Now that you have a foundational D-man, bunch of first-round picks, you can build your team off to the races.
Yeah. Draft.
JD, you were drafted 186th overall, if I'm not mistaken. 700 games in the NHL.
Crazy.
Incredible. What is your draft day story? I remember I was talking to a player from Edmonton a few years ago, Carter Geilander, and he was a 7th-round pick. And he's told me, I was just working at the golf course, cleaning some golf carts, and all of a sudden, Steve Yzerman called me, and I was drafted to the Detroit Red Wings. Is just something similar to that, or were you expecting the call, I guess?
I was drafted 7th round, 186th when I was 20.
Oh, wow.
So I was drafted 2 years late. Yeah, that's one that it's always I'm more proud of that than anything, because I missed my 2 first years. I wasn't even on the board, and then I got invited to a rookie camp, the rookie tournament with the San Jose Sharks. Gilles Cote was a scout there and really liked me, watched me, and I was in Victoriaville, in the middle of the boonies. So he brought me out and ended up having a great tournament. Played, it was right before training camp and all that. And I just got brought into that camp. I had a point a game in there. And then they said, hey, we'll watch you all year. So I was like, oh, okay. So I went back, had a great year in junior that year, won the D scoring title. No big deal in the Q that year. And I was 20, getting ready to go to university and getting ready to go to, because I lost all my eligibility to go to NCAA, so I ended up going to was preparing to go to university in Canada, and got a couple calls from my agent being the New York Rangers were kind of asking about you, the Nashville Predators, the Sharks are still really interested, and I was like, oh, whatever it is. I wasn't really putting any stock into it, and me and my dad were watching the draft on an old school, whatever our computer was back then, the Dell or HP, just a rickety old thing. And we were watching for a friend of mine that was at the time a guy that my dad coached, and we were just pressing refresh and listening to it, and it was the 7th round, and they had 2 picks that round, San Jose, and on the screen you could just see the first initial of the first name and then the last name. So it goes, my dad press refresh and it says J Demers, and he goes, oh my God. And we fall out of our chair and we're like, oh my God, I got drafted to the Sharks. What the hell's going on right now? And we're kind of listening to the radio call or whatever also. And it goes, it's Julien Demers, which was a guy, a D-man who played for the Ottawa 67s at the time. So it was Jay Demers. So I'm like, listen, like immediate, just so deflated. I was like, that was like what a tease.
What the fuck?
And then that was like I think it was like 5 picks before.
Yeah.
And then we got a call like 2 minutes later, and it was like, hey, we're the San Jose Sharks. We're going to draft you here in a second. And I was like, no, I was like, I just thought you did before. They're like, no. Black guy too, defenseman. Not that means anything. I don't see color, but black guy and a white guy. Had 2 Jay Demers on the thing, so it's just funny. And he's a good defenseman. You know, unfortunately, he didn't. You know, he kind of retired a couple years later, but he was a good defenseman for the Ottawa 67s. Julian Demers, great guy too, and we both went to camp. And if I remember, he was like number 61 at camp, and I was 60. And we walked in, and we kind of like the Spider-Man meme, like, Jay Demers. So I kind of told the story, and he's laughing his ass off. But yeah, good dude, and it's just a crazy, wild ride for me on that. Yeah, it's my draft story though. It's a great draft story.
It's unreal.
That just makes your career like incredible. So drafted as a 20-year-old, you played pro in Worcester in the next year. The next year, you're on the San Jose Sharks. You won the President's Trophy, I believe. Went to the Western Conference Finals. That would have been 22. You left the league and then came back and still played 700
Was that
games.
a lockout thing?
No, like he left the league to go to the KHL, right? And then you came back.
Well, I played I went through the lockout and then lost my contract. Ended up going on that PTO year when I had a bad back surgery. I ended up playing the Olympics, going to the KHL, coming back, playing one more game.
Yeah,
I got to make it twice. Yeah, that's I had a blessed career. I had an interesting one for sure. It was unconventional would be the word, the term you use for it just a little bit.
To say the
Helter
least.
skelter, yeah.
JD, want to thank you again for giving us time throughout the year. You're one of our favorites. We appreciate you having us on and doing this every week. What's the summer look like for Demers? Do you just hunker down in Arizona, or do you have like a fancy rich guy trip to, like, I don't know, where do you go? Amalfi Coast? What's a fancy place? That's the only fancy place I know.
I mean, I'm going on my honeymoon with my wife in a couple of weeks. We're going we are going to Italy. So we're not going to the Amalfi Coast though. We're just going, I go to like as non-touristy as possible. So we're trying to like go through the mountains a little bit, and I'm sure I'm saying non-touristy, but I'm probably going to touristy places. My wife's, I said I want to go to this area, and she's kind of taking she's running with it. So we'll see how much it costs. But I'll just be waiting. I'll be waiting for the Oilers Nation check to clear. So that's perfect. Our mechanical guest line, Jason Demers. And then getting ready for next season. So just stuff with the podcast, figuring out what's next. I might do a couple NHL Network days, but mostly just worrying about that. I'm working on a mental health app for youth sports. So I've been building that for like the past 2 years. So hoping to launch or end of this year. But yeah, just trying to teach kids, help them with anxiety, help them with all that stuff. And so a lot of stuff in the iron, a lot of fires.
When the time comes to launch that, you let us know, and we'll obviously help you get the word out on that too. All right. We appreciate you being one of our contractually obligated friends. You have a great summer. Have a great honeymoon.
Hey, did you tell the fans about our run-in during the finals?
I mean, maybe loosely.
This fans needs to know this too. I mean, I was told, for all the fans, just so you know, your fearless leader, Tyler here. We sat together most of the finals up top in the media. I got to watch him work. He works very hard. But sometimes he needs to let his hair down, and he told me he said, I owe you a beer. I'm going to buy you a beer. Here's $20 when I saw him. And he goes, $20 American. I'm going to buy you a beer at some point this time. Folks, he did buy me a beer, but he was 2 sheets to the wind and doesn't even remember the Corona that he bought me, and then dipped out. So I drank the beer alone at Elbow Room by myself because he overserved himself.
I saw that too. Yeah,
I would never.
Fort Lauderdale got another guy, and it's, hey, no one's immune, and you're beat red right now. And it was awesome to see you guys enjoy. I mean, it was fun to see you guys kind of in your element. I wish we could have hung out a little bit more there. I was, doing a million things when I was there, but we're definitely going to have to do something. So we'll have to do a live show one of these days.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Have a good summer, man. Thanks for doing this.
Hey, see you, boys. Thank you.
Bye. There goes Jason Demers.
Oil up!
Wind.
Oil up!
Oil up!